Hey guys and gals, E3 is only a few weeks away, and like everyone else in the world, I would like to give my predictions on what I see is going to happen. E3 has long since not been relevant to the gaming world by and large. Global Gaming Expo, GDC, and both PAX shows have dominated when it comes to conventions in the States, and I personally think E3 has never held a candle to the Tokyo Game Show either. With that said, I look forward to hearing the press conferences every year. I have long since stopped really caring about actually going there or following up with anything outside of the press conferences. Before I get started, I own all the systems, though no Kinect, except for the Vita. While I do favor Nintendo and PS3, that is simply because I prefer the games on those systems, and a lot of what I like on the Xbox also gets released on the PC, which is my preferred platform. With that said, the first press conference at the show will be Microsoft. Now, Microsoft is in a tough position. From what I have seen and heard, the Kinect hasn't exactly taken off yet in the terms of sales and popularity. This is somewhat predictable. It is, after all, a peripheral released after the system launched. Microsoft has dumped tons of money into the Kinect, so it is a safe bet that Kinect 2.0 will be part of 720. Now, is Kinect 2.0 ready to wow us and fix all the limitations the original has? I don't think so, even without even hearing anything about specs or anything less like that. The other big thing about the 720 is Blu-ray. Will Microsoft really be willing to give Sony money for each system sold, or are they going to take a huge risk with going with stream content only? I don't think they have much of a choice but to include a Blu-ray player, but I can see them charging extra in order to use it. Something like maybe making the player an accessory, or the actual software being a paid DLC or something like that. As for the 720 itself being at E3, it definitely won't be released this year. At most, I see it doing what the Wii U did last year. Basically mentioning it, maybe offering some tech demos, and that's about it. Would be surprised to see Kinect 2.0 in action regardless if they mention it or whatever, though I would expect them to make promises that may or may not be kept moving forward. That is Microsoft for you. Last hardware related deal I see is something being said about mobile gaming. I can't see them doing their own handheld device, or that probably would have been leaked already, but it's hard to imagine them not having something to say or do about it. As far as software goes, I expect some mentioning of the obvious titles. Darksiders 2 is going to take up some time. Borderlands 2 may get a spotlight. Assassin's Creed 3 might have some stage time, but that really just depends on what it does with the Kinect. I would expect the majority of the Assassin's Creed 3 coverage is going to be at the Ubisoft's conference. Some additional titles. Halo 4, it's hard to know if Microsoft is going to continue to push the Halo franchise, with it being somewhat different than previously, but it is a big title, so it probably will have its time to shine. Hitman Absolution will probably be mentioned, and then the 007 Legends I see being mentioned. Now, for the ones that I see completely stealing the show, or the majority of the show, the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and the Call of Duty Black Ops 2, no doubt showing off the Kinect interaction. I see a lot of potential coverage for BioShock Infinite. I also wouldn't be too surprised if a dance or interaction game, maybe Banfuse, were also given some time on stage as well. What I would like to see from Microsoft this year would be less focus on FPS games and far fewer celebrity endorsements. That seems to be all that they focused on for the past few years at E3. I was fine with the Sesame Street segment they did last year. Not having a kid of my own, the game didn't interest me all that much, but it was enjoyable to actually see a game, and a non-FPS one at that, being demoed and not just showing off new Kinect options. So, you know, more focus on things like that, not necessarily the kiddie aspects of the game, but actually showing the game's gameplay and not just focusing on, hey, I can reload the gun or whatever. You know, Kinect functionalities or abilities. Microsoft might wow me with a surprise title or two, but really I'm expecting them to play it quite conservative. Sadly, there really isn't any one game that I am overly looking forward to for the 360. Most of the games that I'm interested in seems to be ports of the PC version. However, one game that caught my eye last year was the new Lara Croft. I am not a fan of the series, but the demo shown last year interested me. Wouldn't mind being shown a bit more and see if it follows what we saw, or if it will just turn out to be a better HD version graphics of previous Lara Croft games.
What did he do to you? I've got to get out of here. That was loud. Oh, no, he must have heard me.
Previous Lara Croft games. Next conference will be Electronic Arts. I don't know what they will be doing. They will show off their new sports games, undoubtedly. I would expect SimCity, Crisis 3, and Command & Conquer will probably get some time in the sun. Maybe even an expansion announcement from BioWare with SOTOR Online. They will no doubt go into the Vita, 3DS, iOS, and Kinect flavors of their games, but the biggest unknown is going to be with what Nintendo will allow them to show off with the Wii U. Seeing as how Nintendo wouldn't have had their press conference yet, trailers I can see happening, and I can see it being something on the show floor, but on stage demos, I just don't know. I expect EA to have some surprise titles in store, but not much will be said or shown about them outside of just announcing that they're coming. For me, I am super curious about SimCity on the handhelds and the Wii U. It's been a long time since we actually got a good SimCity game, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing where this one will go.
Hi, this is Dan Moskowitz. I'm going to walk you through some examples of what our new simulation engine, Glassbox, can do. These demonstrations are all about showing off simulation behavior and not graphics. Here's a coal power plant. It's a simulation unit. It contains resources like coal and workers. When active, it runs simulation rules that use up coal and create power and air pollution. Effects and animation are tied directly to simulation rules, so what you see is always a one-to-one representation of what the simulation is doing. This fire station is also a simulation unit. You can drop in additional units like garages to extend the functionality of your buildings. Maps define a distribution of resources throughout the environment. Forests, water, pollution are all represented as maps. The terrain is built out of map layers as well. In this example, we see a terrain composed of bedrock, coal, and soil. Agents are simulation entities that carry resources from one unit to another. The most common types of agents in SimCity are pedestrians and vehicles, which travel along player-defined paths. The simulator is designed to support tens of thousands of agents. Agents trigger simulation rules when they arrive at their destination, but no rules run during transit. Agents can also carry other types of resources throughout the city. They can drop off a portion of power or water at each building and then be resent. Water taken from the water map is repackaged into an agent and sent along pipes. Zones are defined as an area along a path. Zones run rules to create new units, in this case, residential construction sites. Agents, such as construction trucks and moving vans, deliver construction materials and new citizens. Thanks for watching.
Third conference for the day would be Ubisoft. Like EA, it is unknown what they will show with the Wii U. With the Rayman Legends leak a few weeks back, it will no doubt be mentioned and shown, just don't know how in-depth it will be. However, there is little doubt in my mind that Assassin's Creed 3 will be the game that will take up the most of the time. Far Cry 3 might get an honorable mention, along with maybe some mention about Ghost Recon Future Soldier. However, that will already be out by then, so don't expect much there. Just Dance 3 will have some stage time, no doubt. Perhaps Rocksmith as well. I believe that's another big title that Ubisoft's trying to push. Also, just like EA, I would expect Ubisoft to make some surprise announcements, but not go into too much detail about it. I would love for them to at least confirm the rumor about a TMNT clone of Batman Arkham City, assuming they still own the rights to the TMNT games. I'm pretty sure they do, but who knows. I would also love for them to go into more detail about Rainbow Six Patriots, gameplay-wise, not motion controls. I am a longtime fan of the series, but it has been somewhat disappointing since Raven's Shield, in my opinion.
Product not yet rated.
This is the day we've been waiting for. Years of training, years of sacrifice. This is for the jobs you streamlined, the debts you collected. This is for the homes you foreclosed on, the bailouts you took. We are the true patriots. It's time for a new balance of power. You may not answer to the government, but you will answer to us. Get him up.
The last conference for the day would be Sony. As I mentioned before, I see Microsoft in a very awkward position this year. Sony, I believe, is even further down the road than they are. Love it or hate it, Move is far from a success, and I have no doubt Sony hasn't made a profit yet from that investment. I would even go out on a limb and say that with all the defects and PlayStation Network problems that they've had to deal with, added on to the poor launch, they are still not making a profit off of the system. However, they are sort of stuck because of the Vita. The Vita also had less than desirable sales, despite what Sony wants you to believe. But I'm not ready to say it is a failure yet, since it hasn't had a Christmas holiday season yet in the States. However, it is clear that Sony isn't making a profit from that either. I don't expect a PS4 until 2014, perhaps early 2014, but 2014 at the earliest. Would be surprised if it is even mentioned at this E3. Sony needs to and probably will focus the majority of this year's conference to the Vita, with maybe one last attempt to push the Move. I don't expect any hardware surprises this year. Maybe a redesigned Vita, but that is doubtful. I almost guarantee it, though, for the 2013 conference. Game-wise, I think PlayStation will fare better than the Xbox. The LittleBigPlanet karting game will be a big title and will get some stage time. The Last Guardian seems to be a pretty big hitter. I would be surprised if that didn't have some time on stage as well. Some of the others that will be mentioned, maybe demoed. I believe there's a Ratchet and Clank game coming out that may or may not be mentioned. Sly Cooper Thieves in Time is definitely something that's going to be at least mentioned. They normally are. Agent will be mentioned. Crisis 3 might be mentioned and might go a little bit more in depth. Since that's a cross-platform one, it's kind of hard to know which conference that's going to really get mentioned at. As for the Vita itself, LittleBigPlanet and Oddworld are for sure going to take up some time. No doubt there will be many more mentioned, but those two will probably be the big ones. I expect Sony to have at least one big title to surprise us with. Hopefully it's not an FPS, and hopefully not a continuation of a current generation series, but we'll just have to see. Of course, I, just like everyone else, am interested in that all-star fighting game that was leaked or announced a while back. But to offer up something different, and being something of a JRPG fan, I am really looking forward to hearing more about the Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch, despite my knowing it probably won't even be mentioned during the conference. It just looks quite interesting to me.
So, 我々が世界の管理者エルダー・ドゥークだ。
この世界は絶対に終わらせない。二の国。改めてよろしくね、オリバー。
行けよ、オリバー。このために旅してきたんだろ。
お、オリバー君、だいぶ分かってきたようやね。
なんと
本当かそれは。
よこらしょ。忘れていませんか。私も皆さんの仲間です。
いってらっしゃいオリバー、気をつけてね。
もはや覆すことなどできぬ。
オリバーはみんなに贈り物をしたの。
不器用なもんで。やかましいわ。見てま
私もお前に試練を与えるとしよう。
The next morning, we have the last conference that I know of, Nintendo. Obviously, Nintendo's main focus will be on the Wii U, and knowing the big end, they won't be sharing any of the specs and stuff on stage, though I would imagine that information being told inside interviews. The big debate is, will it be more powerful than the 360 and PS3? The final official specs haven't been released yet, so no one can say yes or no. Using the specs previously released or leaked on paper, there really isn't that much difference. It is rather difficult to compare the 360 to the PS3 and Wii U in terms of hardware. The 360 is basically a normal PC hardware system customized, so it isn't normal PC hardware. Whereas both the PS3 and the Wii U, from what we know, is PC hardware hidden under custom code. However, from looking at the numbers, there really isn't that much difference. Yeah, we don't know the amount of RAM in the Wii U, and from a chip perspective, the CPU is a little bit better, and the graphics card most likely uses the GDDR5. Might not, though. The GDDR5 memory can be rather expensive, which is a step up. However, on paper, this isn't an easily noticeable difference. On the plus side, both the PS3 and 360 use their own brand of CPU architecture, and in the PS3's case, something totally brand new at the time. This proved rather troublesome, not only from a coding perspective, but it was also guaranteed at launch at least, that not all CPU-GPU cells would work. I believe that in an interview Sony did at the time, they said something to the effect that half the cells are expected to fail. Plus, given the heating issues later discovered in both systems, it is a safe bet that neither system is hitting the full potential of the hardware. Nintendo's tried and true stance on hardware might actually show a better performance despite the specs being rather similar. On the negative side, some of the most intense PC games out there today are barely hitting the dual-core 3.0 GHz speeds, and under normal resolutions and settings, 512GB GDDR3 memory graphic cards, perhaps jumping up to 1 gig when on higher settings. I can't see programmers taking advantage of the 4.0 CPU or GDDR5 memory quite yet. All this is hoping Nintendo goes with the 512GB graphic cards instead of the 256, or it wouldn't matter much if it is the GDR3 or 5 memory, assuming it is even 5 to begin with. In addition to that, what about UHD TV, which goes up to 4320p? By the time the Wii U starts to shine, this will be starting to take hold in the market, and once again, the PS4 and Xbox 720 will outshine the Wii U, which chose a weak graphics card. Putting all this techno rambling into easier terms, yes, I think the Wii U is superior in terms of hardware to the PS3 and 360, but by the time we see it, it will be obsolete. With all that said, what makes Nintendo is its games and experiences. Outside of them showing off what the Wii U tablet can do, and yes, I'm hoping they have chosen a better name than Wii U, I expect a whole list of games to follow. However, here's my hope. No Zelda. That series needs a pretty long rest. No spotlight given to ports of games already released on other consoles. Just mentioning them is fine, but really don't go into any detail. And at least mentioning the ability to transfer WiiWare Virtual Console downloads to the Wii U. Probably 1/3 of the conference will have to do with the 3DS. Would be surprised if there was another SKU announced for it, though I would think additional colors would be announced. Animal Crossing is probably going to get some attention, New Super Mario Bros. 2 of course, and maybe a few surprise titles. Since there isn't an official list released for upcoming Wii U games, I can't say for sure what I'm looking forward to. For the 3DS, however, Fire Emblem Awakening is going to be my pick. I know it probably won't be shown during the conference, and I am a little ticked that it isn't going to be for the Wii U, but still, Fire Emblem is awesome. And that will wrap up my E3 predictions, though there wasn't a lot of predicting. Sorry for going a bit more into Nintendo. They just had more that I could talk about. I am not sure if there are any other conferences. I know Square Enix isn't going to have one this year, but I'm not 100% sure that others like Activision or Konami aren't. If there are other conferences outside of the ones I mentioned, then I will make a quick video about my thoughts of them as well. I will also make a video post E3 going over the conferences and giving my opinions on Best of Show. And with that, what are your thoughts about E3 this year? Please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and God bless.